here we are live at the International Batter Show, and I'm just outside. I just parked. It is packed. They have empty lots, full parking, expanded. It is packed. There's a line to get inside. I've never seen the convention center here so full. Many of the events, maybe the parking holds thousands of spots, and they've expanded it into their side lots. And I saw that the conference part was actually sold out. So the expo part is free to enter. The conference costs like $500 and is sold out. So this is packed. I've been streaming, coming to these events for years. I was mentioning, Automotive Testing Expo, the Foam Expo, and the Foam Expo was not really that many people here at all. And then I went to the Steel Conference, and it was very few people. But batteries are very popular. People probably looking for employment advancement, and there's probably a lot of money-making opportunities in batteries. So I'm just walking. I've been walking like half a mile, God forbid, from the parking, and you could see coming up the line goes around the building. God forbid, I'll probably be standing in line for half an hour. So Mr. Boston, thanks for tuning in. So they got tents outside. Unreal here, the crowdedness. And so this is all the way looping around the building, and I've pre-registered, but I don't have my pass, so I have just my pre-registration. Hopefully the line's moving relatively quickly, and we'll see how long it takes me to get inside. I'll start streaming now. I didn't prepare that much for the battery show memes. Thanks for tuning in. I didn't do too much preparation. I might even still have some of the brochures that I gathered from last year. So I'm not sure if there's some special reason it's so crowded, or if there's been an increase. Certainly Michigan, Ford has announced it's cutting jobs. The Biden administration recently, the Inflation Reduction Act includes funding for electric vehicles and batteries. So it's remotely possible that there's been such a funding. In fact, I was reading this morning, they have a magazine called Electrified, specifically about electric vehicles. So I get their monthly magazine, Electrified, that deals just specifically with electric vehicles, and they were giving an overview of the recently passed Inflation Reduction Act that includes funding for electric vehicles, rebates up to a certain point, like a certain dollar amount, and the various changes in that, which is because batteries, electric vehicles are expensive. In order to encourage more environmentally friendly practices, the government is giving rebates, tax rebates, direct funding to companies, green companies, clean energy, so on and so on. So I'll have to, we'll see. I'll look more into it. Maybe I'll even try to come Thursday. Probably won't come tomorrow, but maybe I'll come also Thursday and you will. I'll look into it and see if there's actually government funding is one of the reasons why it's so crowded. So it's likely that that's part of the reason is that the Inflation Reduction Act includes some funding for these companies' jobs. So a lot of people coming here are probably looking to get into the business. So there's people in the business, and you're saying there's a conference also. So the conference cost over $500 and started yesterday. So presumably, no one in this line is waiting for the conference. Everyone in this line is just waiting for the expo, and you'll have various levels. You have various levels of. So actually, there was still parking. They have the Suburban Expo Center mentioned Mr. Fisher, who owns the place. Third generation family car dealership. This Expo Center has changed ownership, but they own a few lots next to it. So there's actually, literally like places for parking, and even though it's completely full, I walked like half a mile, they still had thousands of parking spots available. So it's remotely possible. I've never seen the parking lot here filled up. I mean, the parking lot is filled up, but they have dirt lots next door that they've turned into parking, and and they're charging $5 parking. But
we purchased some bolts for an experimental group. I work with the state of Michigan, so basically we have
so I was mentioning the governmental funding. Most of these people are probably looking for employment opportunities, business opportunities. Some people could be in related businesses that work in things that require battery technology and are here to see the displays. My parents are hopefully this year, in a few months, going to be getting solar panels on top of their house. So it could be my parents will get some sort of special battery technology for their house that will be able to store power. They've had a generator installed. They've mentioned the power outages. God forbid that's on Ukraine. You relate to the war, but there's supposedly 9 million people in Ukraine without power. That God forbid maybe strategic bombing of infrastructure to cause the power outages. But here in Michigan, just from weather, mismanagement, older infrastructure, there's been power outages, so my parents are considering investing or putting some sort of special battery really to their house. So it's the type thing. There could be people here just wanting to see the battery technology and what's available, but most people are probably here for employment reasons, and there's a lot of fields with green energy that are battery related, that the changes in technology will make batteries related to all sorts of technologies. I mean, here in Michigan, automotive is the main thing, and electric vehicles. And just saying that the new inflationary Biden Act has increased funding to help vehicles go electric. There's also things related to solar power. Here in Michigan, you have not hydropower, but wind power. So a lot of the wind turbines, they sometimes feed directly into the grid, but usually they need battery storage. So with the concern of like the green energy, even think what's happening in Germany with the news and the war in Russia, Ukraine, and the possible energy shortage in Germany. They think batteries, but it's probably hype. So you say like, okay, I went to the 3D printing show. That was nowhere near as packed as this. There's a lot of hype around 3D printing and conceivable employment opportunity, uh, economic gain that you could get from being involved in 3D printing. So, 3D printing had pretty big crowd, nowhere near like this. And so batteries here too, like people know batteries are where it's at in terms of economic opportunity and potential employment gains. I got my mask here, I'll put my mask on. It might be like another 20 minutes outside, so I'll see if I could ramble for another few minutes, try to collect my thoughts on the various battery companies. A lot of batteries are made in China. I think China still has travel restrictions, so there probably will not be that many Chinese here. Some of the international conglomerates have local, most of them, so like most of these Chinese companies that make large amounts of batteries are international, have local representatives here in Metro Detroit, and so they will probably have a decent amount of the Chinese companies here that aren't usually, so historically the show you would have like hundreds, maybe even thousands of people from China here specifically, but it probably won't be the case because China has travel restrictions, and so what you'll have is the local representatives of Chinese conglomerates, but there's a huge amount, one thing, lithium, so there's different types of batteries. The main batteries are made through lithium. There's a whole bunch of technology. There's solid state batteries, there's nickel cadmium, so I get inside, hopefully we'll be able to see some of the what's new, some of the latest technology they'll have on display. But lithium, I think it comes from Afghanistan. I forget where the biggest mines are. There's lithium all over the world. I think there's also actually lithium in Ukraine, in the Donetsk region, that some conspiracists have claimed part of the conflict in Ukraine is over lithium reserves. But a huge amount of the global lithium, there's also quite a bit of lithium in South America. I think there's not much lithium in America. There are lithium like mines, I think, in America, but not many. And I forget the number, but tens of percent of the world's lithium supply comes from China or near China. Chinese mined in Afghanistan. I think it's the Boston. Yeah, it comes in Afghanistan, and the Afghanistan lithium mines are almost exclusively Chinese controlled, and lithium could be used also in like chips, semiconductors, but one of the main uses, the lithium ion battery is the main majority of batteries, like your cell phones, computers, cars. Vast majority use lithium, and in fact is the vast majority still use acid battery. That most automobiles still use acid batteries that have environmental problems, might underperform lithium, but I mean the reality is, even here in Michigan, they still manufacture acid batteries. A lot of the Chinese companies also manufacture acid batteries and ship here, but lithium is considered to be the future of batteries, but there's competitive chemistry to lithium. Just show, I finally turned the corner, so the line, God forbid, it might have grown longer, so it took like 15 minutes to cover the first part of this line, and now You could see the building and the entrance. So this place probably about another 10 minutes. Maybe people are a little bit more crunched in, like social distancing. The further away the line is, the more social distance. But I think probably about another 10 minutes. So till I get inside. So as I didn't prepare for the convention, because I figured just go by and film, pick up some reading material, see what's going on. And a lot of times you're better off preparing for it. You could read through the reading material, see the companies, see what's new, and expect what to see. So I'm just saying basic trends in the battery market. So there's always new types of battery technology coming out. I mentioned a week in review of alloys. I'd say most alloys are like 99% one element and less than 1% another element. So like steel that is mostly iron and might have a little bit of carbon or nickel, titanium, various things that you could add to make an alloy. That there's the majority of alloys are in the 90% of one compound. However, batteries aren't the same technology. They're not alloys, and they're mentioning high entropy alloys that have tens of percent or more, even mixtures of various elements. So the key to the battery is the flow of electrons. So lithium, the nature, like why lithium is a good element for solar panels and for batteries is related to the chemistry of the electron diffusion and that I don't know in the chat, I forget what many electrons is lithium. Is it silicon, like carbon, or lithium is like plus 2, or minus 2, that 2 electrons. But where you have large amounts of lithium, the electrons could dislocate and travel and give the electric flow. And then if you have like nickel cadmium, it's usually 2 separate substances divided by a barrier of one side will be positive electric charge and the other side will have a negative electric charge. And there'll be some sort of barrier film, and the electrons will flow naturally from one substance to the other, like lead acid batteries. It's like a reserve of electrons, and over the period of time, the electrons dislocate and flow, and that's what gives power. So, like lithium, there's also the nature of rechargeable batteries. So your lead acid batteries, like in cars, are rechargeable. So the battery provides the energy to start the car, but once the car is started and it's being propelled by gas, part of the gas also recharges the battery. And if you have purely electric vehicles, if you have a hybrid car where the propulsion of the battery is not enough to propel the car. So like a lead acid battery of a typical car is not nearly enough to ride the engine of the car, to start the car, or the computer system, the lights, some of the basic elements of the car. But to actually propel the car, you need much more energy, the chemistry, the terms energy density. So like gasoline, natural gas, coal has a huge amount of energy density. Like if you're talking like per unit of like liter or gram, the amount of energy density of gasoline is like 40 times higher than a battery, or than most other substances. so your battery um, strong enough. So lithium, so lead acid battery doesn't provide nearly the same amount of energy as other types of battery, like a lithium battery or a nickel cadmium battery. That if you're looking like a car, and yes, I did prepare for the event to know these numbers. Like a lot of people who work in the field, automotive engineers, they would know the numbers, like old school, like horsepower. The car is operating from like 100 to 500 horsepower to run it. And horsepower is the old English, would be like the metric measurements. So here in the U.S. we still use the English system, but on the market. But for engineers, it's mostly the metric system. So if we're talking about joules, the amount of energy that it takes to run a car, the average energy to run a car, and so how much energy can there be in a battery? And so I think of my cell phone. My cell phone here that I'm streaming from. I'm getting advertisements now for the new i14. So the i14 advertises now that it has 26 hours of battery. So I might run out of battery in an hour on this. I might start getting low on battery, in just like 40 minutes. Might even have to cut my stream short because it can be like another like 10 minutes till I get inside. And I might have like 30 minutes of battery for streaming. But I'm pretty sure that the battery in the cell phone is lithium. So the lithium has a huge amount of energy density of the various battery types. I mentioned competitive forms like nickel cadmium or those other things. It's nickel. So like an automobile that's electric, if you've seen the batteries, they're huge. Like the battery's like the size of a human. Like most, and sometimes even bigger. Like an electric vehicle, the battery could basically be the full size of the automobile under it. And sometimes there's two of them or different centers, but so for electric vehicle, the battery size is substantial, although it might even be lower quality than the battery of my iPhone. So iPhone's an expensive device, like $1,000. I'm not sure how much the battery component of the iPhone costs, but if you like a laptop computer, the battery could be like $100, $200 a new battery. Depending on replacement, $50. But you think like the battery size in your computer is like $100. The battery for a car is maybe even 500 times bigger than a computer battery. It's substantially big. Like a vehicle, if it's electric, the battery is huge. It weighs hundreds of pounds. It could be the whole distance under the car, even a good few inches thick, and depending on the supply. And eventually get inside, you'll see the companies mostly in the Far East. So most of these batteries are made in the Far East. There's been an attempt to bring battery manufacture here to the U.S. Although because the lithium comes mostly from Afghanistan, and even the trade secrets. People think of the time. Thanks for tuning in. Saying electric cars are much heavier, specifically because of the batteries. The batteries, the energy density of gasoline is like 40 times higher than the battery. So, if you want to have the amount of energy that gasoline could provide in a battery, you need like 40 times the density of the gasoline. So if my car holds like 12 gallons of gasoline, you could go like 300 miles on that amount of gasoline. Most electric cars don't have that distance, but if they go 100 miles, I'm not sure if you've seen like a gasoline tank, you think like a gallon of water, and if a car has like 10 gallons of water, um, but you're thinking like 1 gallon of water would take really like 20 times the size for a battery to provide the same amount of power. And I mean, the reality is that Carnot's cycle only like I forget the number. It could be only like 40% of the energy from gasoline is actually captured and able to turn into energy. So from a battery, it's pretty high. I think even over 90% of the energy from the battery actually goes to the vehicle. So if the energy density of the battery is 40 times less than gasoline, there's also the fact that much more of battery energy could be directly put into uh, the actual usage of the car than the battery. So if it's 40 times, so if you're thinking like a gallon, I forget the exact numbers, but maybe like 15 times. So the amount of 1 gallon of gasoline would require like 15 times as much equivalent battery density. So that's why um, battery in the car will weigh hundreds of pounds. So this is pretty basic in terms like okay, automotive engineering said like the direction. It said energy crisis, the push to go green, Biden and the Inflation Reduction Act. There's a huge push to go electric, and I showed on my stream even a few years ago about electric vehicles, the phase in. So I toured the Ford Focus, I think the final assembly plant here, and they have the same line for electric and gas vehicles. And at the point I toured 2 years ago, 1 out of 20 cars were electric, 19 out of 20 were gas. And even then, the electrics were by that they still had gas. But the assembly line was built that the certain section where they put in the battery or the electric, they go through the same line. So if it eventually became all electric, it would still be able to use the same assembly line. So the phase-in that most of the industry leaders have said will be by 2050, there's basically no longer going to be gas cars. So you're looking like 30 more years till the complete phase out of gas automobiles, and that requires multiple things. It requires an improvement in the technology, and it requires a complete infrastructure overhaul of America. That think like the highway system and the gas station business. So actually, ironically, I was watching something the other week. Very few new gas stations get built. So like the number of gas stations like that have been built in recent years has been decreasing. There might be other reasons than just because of electricity, but for a certain period of time, gas stations popped up all over the country, and it was necessary, for the vehicle together. I mean, people know the history of the automobile, and initially when the Ford's Model T came out, and people would travel long distance, they would have to take the gasoline with them. That there wasn't reliable places to be able to purchase gasoline. I mentioned leaded gasoline. That originally gasoline was leaded. It took a while to come out with a type of gasoline that worked properly for the automobile to leaded gasoline, and leaded gasoline wasn't really phased out until the 80s. But when they built the interstate freeway system in I'm not sure, like the 30s through the 50s, 60s, and the suburbanation of America, it was known that there would be gas stations on every major corner. So like it's America, there's a church on every major corner, but there's also a gas station on every major corner because cars need gas, and people get where they go by gas. and so you need gas stations basically everywhere. So in America, um, basically every major corner has a gas station, and the infrastructure would have to change for it to switch to electrification. Yes, I mean Tom is mentioning the energy problems. Like I was streaming with Luke Ford, and he was showing me that it was like 80 degrees, and they had cell phone. This happened here in Michigan a few years ago during the winter, where it was very cold, exceedingly cold, and there was some sort of explosion or problem by one of the local power plants or transformers, and they sent a message, indirectly to all cell phones, governor's warning, and it, directly took into the cell phones to say, like, don't put your heater above 60 degrees. Okay, Judith's gonna wear my mask. See, I don't see anyone. I don't see anyone wearing the mask, but I'll put my mask on. So Luke, was screaming at me. He was showing me that they said to not put your air conditioning below 80 degrees in California due to energy prices, maybe in Texas also. And so he was showing that the house was like 78 degrees. California's had a heat wave and energy shortages, and air conditioning is one of the biggest uses of energy. And heat is usually done through natural gas. Air conditioning is usually powered by electricity. So it was a natural here in Michigan, like 3 years ago, when they had the very cold day in the summer. It was like a natural gas. I think there was an explosion or some storage center, but heat in the winter is powered by natural gas, as opposed to air conditioning in the summer is powered by electricity, not natural gas. So that's like in Ukraine and Germany right now. The worry is in the winter. So I mean, the issue of electricity, so like nuclear power or whatever the source of power is, the summer air conditioning is powered by electricity, and the winter heat is powered by natural gas. So I mean, they're both a form of electricity, but the difference is heat is not transferred into electricity. So if you think of the energy usage for air conditioning, you have a coal, mostly coal power plants. There might be nuclear power plants. But Michigan there's nuclear, but the majority of power in Michigan is provided by coal, and so the coal is burnt and transferred into electricity, and then the electricity comes to the house, which operates the air conditioner, as opposed to natural gas is not converted. The heat is not made by electricity. The gas is burnt, and the burning of the gas provides the heat. You could provide heat through electricity.
There's more registration areas. If you guys keep walking down past the hall, there's 2 other stations, not just this one. The lines are shorter.
Okay, so we're in, and we'll see if she's right. Okay, so this is line to there. Okay, so I'm not sure if that woman was with the show. She might not have even been with the show. She might have been just a random goer that was giving information. So yes, this is the most packed I've ever seen the Suburban Collection Center, good for Mr. Fisher. Um, maybe good for good for Detroit, good for business. Although, it's unclear whether all of these people here actually means an economic uptick. Because most people here are probably here because they want economic opportunity, looking for jobs or business. And so it could be that there's more seekers than finders here, that the people here are seeking employment or business opportunities, rather than that there's a whole bunch of business and all these people are in the battery business. And when we get inside, we'll see that really to a large extent the battery business is still dominated by the Far East, China, Korea, and so lifelong education. If you want to improve your employment opportunity status and chance to get ahead, then you might be looking for in the battery industry, or there could be retraining. And I say it could be wasted government money that saying the Biden Inflation Reduction Act, and that the reason there's so many people here is because the government is funding educational retraining, so that businesses are paying, the government is paying businesses to send people here, and so the reason people are here is because they have.
It is shorter. That one actually might be shorter. Honestly, that one's shorter.
Is that one, if you're already registered,
Yeah.
you print out? Okay.
That one's shorter.
Okay, so finally going to be able to register, and over here is badge print. And
What's your phone number?
404. There's actually no line at all here.
Are our registers coming this line right here?
Yeah, this is
Good.
much shorter.
A tablet one's available? Oh, sorry.
Well, it was, and it wasn't working. Climate control.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, so. Here, listen. Yeah, it was much shorter, because I was getting like, okay, I see a lot of people doing this. It's really.
Yes, I mentioned it's likely that this is Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, and that very few of these people are actually in the battery business, are going to be entering the battery business, are actually going to be doing something that's helping, directly related to the supply chain or manufacturer or building of batteries, but it's government programs that are paying for re-education, and so like general education, people coming to these shows to learn more. There's the level of education and knowing what the technology is and what it does to actually employment, inflation, your various economic indicators. So promoting battery technology, paying people to learn about it, funding educational resources versus the number of jobs available in the field. So my guess would be there's very few jobs in this field. That very few of the people here will actually find employment or business opportunity in the field. but yeah, because the government's promoting it, there's incentive to learn about it in kind of false
All right,
hopes.
can I have you stand behind him? Richard? Okay, perfect. Tablet 1. Richard McFarlane? That's you. Okay, all right.
Another Richard.
You beat him at the printer. All right, have a good one.
Yeah, try the show. Number 16, yep.
Next down here.
Sometimes it doesn't work. Enter your first 3 letters of first and last name. Sion. All right. Tablet 2 is available. I don't know why you didn't want to try yours again. If it doesn't, I'll have you scoot over. Thank you.
Next. Before.
Okay, so I'm gonna have you scoot over here where the man in the receiver is standing, and you'll wait closer. Here. David?
Yep.
Okay. All right, tablet 1 and 2 are available. Here you go. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you. God bless. Appreciate
Tablet 2 is available.
it. Okay. Took 40 minutes. So, God forbid it took a full 40 minutes for me to get in. So, here.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, great. It took me 40 minutes to get in.
Yeah, I heard traffic in the line.
Yeah, okay, well, God bless. Okay, so we're in. So I think this is not the main section of the hall. There's another section of the hall, and this might be. I'm not sure. So I'm looking various things. So there's all sorts of affiliated. So before, just as I was getting in, I was talking about the change in infrastructure. So in order to have the complete phase out of gas vehicles to electric, will require the complete change of infrastructure across America of the nature of like gas stations to electric charging, like charging stations, parking, and there's a whole bunch of ways to charge in various technologies, and it hasn't converged. So there's technologies where you could have charging under the road, non-touch charging. There's direct charging, plug-in stations, home stations, all various things. So it's tough to see. Yeah, I didn't prepare to see the layout of the companies. I wasn't expecting it to be so big. So there's all sorts of auxiliary technology to batteries. So you have things like mixers, the actual making of batteries, towards vehicles, the charging, the connection, power, electric related technologies to batteries, like transformers, wire.